What's good, my people? Welcome back to Whole Views. My name is Corey. Today we're going to talk about the Injustice animated feature that was released just this weekend. If you love comic books, you love movies, you love firearms, specifically on Friday, you should think about subscribing to the channel. We do Firearms Friday. We talk about comic book movies. We talk about other movies. We talk about social issues from time to time. There's a lot of different things that we tackle on the channel, and it would be great if you would consider subscribing and dropping some comments on these videos. Let's talk about that Injustice animated feature that was just released. I'm gonna do a real quick breakdown of my numbers and why they fell how they fell, and then I'll get into a little bit of spoilery topics talking about the movie in specific detail. Let's start off with the visuals. For the visuals, for me, I have to give it a 9 out of 10. I thought the animation style was fine. Nothing that really blew you away. The voice acting, very precise. All the characters felt like the authentic characters that we always get, even though they were not voiced by consistent people. Because I think Jerry O'Connell had done Superman in the last few previous features. I think Jason Mara had done the voice of Batman in the previous features. This one, departure from those things, but everything still felt normal. Good voice performances, good animation style, visuals, 9 out of 10. Story and pace go hand in hand on this one to me. I give both of those, the story and the pace, a 7. I'm going to explain why I give them moderate scores in the spoiler section. Just for the sake of making the video and trying to segment it, the story was fine, the pace was fine. That's why we land at 7s. When you get to the spoiler section, I'll explain in a little bit more details why I wasn't as thrilled with the story and or the pace. Rewatchability, again, might be kind of strange for me talking about a comic book property, but I give rewatchability a 3. And again, when we get to the spoiler section, I'll be able to very clearly explain why that rewatchability is low. Entertainment value was an 8 out of 10 for me. I feel like overall, it was a fun little thing to sit down and watch at an hour and 15 minutes. It was the action that you want to see. It was the drama that you already knew was coming. I thought it was a fun enough time to give it above average marks at an 8 out of 10. But let's talk about the spoilers and the things that specifically went on with this movie that had me kind of downgrade its story, its pace, and most importantly, its rewatchability. Very, very low score for me, and let's get into why. So, a little backstory on me. I am a video game player. I've played the Injustice games for quite some time. I enjoy them quite a bit. I have a lot of fun with those characters, and I know the story of the video game. I was actually so enthralled with the game after playing that original game that came out so many years ago. I actually jumped into the comic book world online, read some panels, some pages, and filled in the blanks of the stories that happened between the first game and the second game, because there are 2 Injustice games that came out on the PlayStation and the Xbox consoles, probably PC, and even a mobile game that I'm very, very much into with some friends of mine that are kind of international. Shouts out to the boys. With all that being said, the story that was presented in the movie was relatively meh to me. It seems like it blended some of the elements of the game as well as some of the elements of the comics, and it kind of wrapped up everything in a nice little bow. I was expecting something different from this one. I thought with Injustice being a property that has 2 games and has a comic book series and a mobile game, I thought at some point here, they're going to leave this thing open enough to where you can come back and get more stories from this universe. But it seems like they told the entirety of the story in 1 hour and 15 minutes. I don't know if I cared for that. I really feel like if they had done something more to kind of leave it as a cliffhanger type ending and gave us more and kind of stretched out the story and put a little bit more action, put a little bit more drama, I think that would have made it better. But who's to say? I've never written a feature film. I've never written a script. I don't know if things are gonna go quite the way that I have them planned out in my mind. I just felt like watching this story unfold felt reminiscent to something I played through several times, right down to the alternate Superman coming in to fight the evil Injustice Superman. It was weird to see it happen, and just know as I'm watching this movie, I'm gonna see all the same beats that I read about in the comics, or that I saw in the video games, or I've heard people reference in other games and stuff like that. So those things kind of messed up the story as well as the pace for me. When I watched the movie, I was kind of just watching and waiting. Like, I knew there was going to be some type of showdown at Arkham. I knew some way Damian Wayne would end up killing Dick Grayson. Like, I knew things would happen that way. It was slightly different from the game, but I knew how it would happen, and it went pretty much the same way. The biggest deviation was the Nightwing twist that they put in this movie, and I feel like it was something original that was added, and I did not care for it. So that also affects the story and pace scores that I give it. And ultimately, having so much history in my own personal life with the video games, with the comics, with the mobile games, it's like rewatchability has to be low, because this is the same thing that I've seen over and over in different mediums. So 3 for me is why I land where I land. I've been playing this story for so long, seeing it unfold again animated is like, I will say this though. The philosophical difference that you see on display in Injustice games and this movie is kind of what people wanted to see in Batman vs Superman. They wanted the difference between Clark and Bruce to be fundamental, things that they argued about, not just a straight battle between the two titans, the two comic book titans. So I feel like, they hit it well here in this animated feature, giving you that tension, that philosophical difference. But if you played the games, you know all these discussions. If you played the games, you know how things are gonna go. Like, I expected Green Arrow to be killed. I expected Harley to turn into like Hero Harley. Like, I knew that would be, they would find a way to get there, and they did it. And I was like, okay, well, they did it. Just not blowing me away. This is kind of where I fall down on it. So that is why my score tabulates out to what it tabulates out to. It's not that I didn't enjoy it. I think it was fine. I thought it was good. For a person who's uninitiated, you might enjoy it much more than me, but to anyone who has my level of consumption in the Injustice universe of the DC world, it's like, you will say, oh, this is cool, and keep it moving. You won't be blown away like some others maybe. So that is where I fall. Sorry if I went on a little bit long on the spoiler side. Hope I didn't mess anybody up. I hope that you stopped this video and then went and watched the movie before I got into the spoilers. But that's kind of where I landed. I enjoyed the film. It was a good time. It wasn't a waste of time. But at the same time, it's like, it's kind of more of what I've already seen several times in different ways. So that's just what it is. That's all I have for you all. Please subscribe to the channel. Consider it. Hitting that button, hitting the alerts. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Enjoy yourself. Guard your heart. And please come back and check out more videos.